So shall I start? All right. Ladies and gentlemen, dear media, this is the second day of a two-day visit of Secretary of Defense of the United States, Lloyd Austin. I would say not only my colleague, but already also a friend. We had quite a lot of meetings and discussions briefly before Madrid summit and of course during the Madrid summit. And then he promised he will visit us. And as you know, Americans are always keeping their promises. And this is not with standing friendship and support during the 20th century, during the very dark days of our occupation by Soviet Union. And now, during these 2 days, we have been discussing, of course, a number of issues. First of all, Russian aggression in Ukraine, how we can support Ukraine, what we can do together. We were discussing issues of our partnership within NATO and Transatlantic Union. We had also, of course, questions which we did not manage still to talk about, but we will probably next time. And of course, bilateral cooperation, because the United States is standing very close with Latvia, with Latvians, with Baltic countries. There are also plans for even closer and deeper cooperation in a number of issues. So I would say it's just like in movie Casablanca. It's a beginning of good friendship. Thank you very much.
Well, good afternoon, everyone. Minister Pabriks, thanks for hosting me in this beautiful city. It is my first visit to Riga as Secretary of Defense, and I'm told the first visit of an American Secretary of Defense to Latvia since you became a NATO ally. But our countries are very old friends. In fact, President Biden recently marked 100 years of U.S. diplomatic relations with the Baltics. The United States remains steadfast in our commitment to the freedom and sovereignty of our Baltic allies. And we stand united with you in defense of freedom, democracy, and security. Now, I'm visiting at a critical time for Europe and for the world. As we stand here today, Russia continues its cruel and unprovoked war of choice against Ukraine. Russian forces are indiscriminately killing civilians and destroying civilian infrastructure all over the country. And as the Ukrainian people fight heroically to defend themselves, they are showing that they demand and deserve to live in freedom. Now, a few weeks ago at the Madrid summit, NATO leaders, including President Biden and President Levits, recognized Russian aggression as the most significant and direct threat to the security of our allies and to peace and stability in Europe. President Putin thought that he could divide the NATO alliance with his aggression. But in fact, he achieved just the opposite. The NATO alliance is more united and stronger than ever before. And I look forward to working with Sweden and Finland as members of the most powerful defensive alliance in history. As you heard today, the Minister and I had a highly productive discussion on strengthening our collective defense in response to Russia's reckless aggression. And NATO is strengthening its forward defenses and enhancing its battle groups in the eastern part of the alliance up to brigade level. The United States is also enhancing its presence along the alliance's east, and we will maintain a persistent and rotational presence in the Baltics, including Latvia. So let's be clear. We seek no confrontation and pose no threat to Russia. Our updated posture simply reflects our ongoing and solemn commitment to Article 5. An attack on one NATO ally is an attack on every NATO ally. And our new posture positions positions us to respond more swiftly and surely to security challenges today and in the years ahead. Now, Mr. Minister, I know that we both stand in solidarity with the Ukrainian people and their democratically elected government. So we'll continue to work together to provide Ukraine with the military equipment that it needs to defend itself, and we'll continue to stand strong with our NATO allies, and we'll continue to stand up to Russia's assault on democracy and sovereignty and the rules-based international order. Thank you, and we're glad to take a couple of questions. So the first part of the question is what more can be done to help Ukraine? I get that right? And the second part of the question is what are we doing to help Latvia? Correct?
How secure we are here.
Okay, so the first question is what more can be done? As you've seen, we are doing a lot. Our partners, our allies, and countries around the globe actually are doing a lot. We're not guessing at what is needed because every week, sometimes twice a week, I'm talking to the Minister of Defense of Ukraine, Minister Reznikov, and we're talking about how the battle is evolving and what their current needs are today and what they'll need in the future to be successful. And our focus is on helping them successfully defend their sovereign territory. So you've seen us pull together a number of nations who are willing and able to help Ukraine by providing security assistance. We started out with some 40 nations. We're now up to 50. We meet every month. We discuss the needs of the Ukrainian armed forces. Minister Reznikov participates in those sessions, and so we have we have frequent real-time updates in terms of what they need and what we can do. And so you've seen us provide a number of systems that are very, very relevant and effective in this fight, and we'll continue to do that. Let me add that Latvia has played a key role in helping its neighbor. And from the very beginning, Latvia stepped up to the plate and said, "Hey, we'll help by donating some weapons and air defense capability to Ukraine." And those were very effective in the early days of the fight. And the minister has remained engaged, and Latvia has continued to contribute to the overall effort, and we're grateful for that. In terms of Latvia's security, I can tell you that your minister is absolutely focused on that. He's working with neighboring ministers of defense. He's communicating his needs to NATO, and so I feel pretty good about the fact that he is absolutely focused on this and forward-looking.
Thank you.
For the minister, can you tell us what your priority requests were from the United States? What is it you would like to get? Is it personnel, training, equipment, or perhaps backfill for equipment that you have sent to Ukraine? And for Secretary Austin, you talked a lot over the last couple of days about enhancing rotations and intensifying training here. Can you give us a little more detail on whether or not you will, when the brigade will get to Romania and be able to start rotating here into Latvia, and will there be an increase, a substantial increase in the number of U.S. troops here, and will there be a persistent SFAB presence?
Okay. May I start? Well, first of all, I must stress that our cooperation with the United States have been very good for years. And what I'm telling to many other countries, particularly in Europe, of course, is why don't you take an example from the United States as far as the cooperation between NATO allies? Because the United States is a country which not only rotates its forces here, but which also annually gives us a certain military and financial assistance. And we are appreciating that very much, because here we can see that this position in White House, in Congress, in Senate, in Pentagon is the same. They understand our needs. Also, my latest visit in Congress and Senate just confirmed that, and we could see also a number of visits coming now here to Latvia. And what I'm saying to other allies, look, I mean, you sometimes have this problem with reaching 2% and you maybe can't so efficiently use those finances, but why don't you make this contribution and collaboration with my country in the same way like United States is doing? So that's one part. The second part, what we would like to see and what would be our wish. Of course, I must not remind that we are a relatively small country, which is a border of NATO and European Union. So, in fact, we are a litmus test for the imperial ambition of Russia. But at the same time, of course, our military capabilities and budget is relatively small. That would mean that my major request would consist of, first of all, I would like to see here more United States enablers, more frequent visits and trainings together, because if we want to defend in hypothetical war situation my country, Latvia, and all the NATO alliance as a bordering country, we need also to have these nitty-gritty trainings on a daily basis. Secondly, I would highly appreciate if that military financial assistance about what Congress, Senate, White House and Pentagon is deciding would actually be larger, because we need to purchase also new equipment for our military forces, and our priorities is very clear. It's a rocket artillery. We can see it's used very well in defending Ukrainian sovereignty and freedom. It is air defense and, of course, coastal defense, because we have a quite long coastal territory. So these are our priorities, and we are looking forward for cooperation with the United States. And we are not a one-way nation. We have certain things about which your, let's say, institutions are informed, how we can contribute to security. And I will not name them now and here, but we are doing a lot of things which are not only of Latvian national interest, but of common interest for peace and security in the region.
So Lita, what you heard the President announce following or at the Madrid summit was that we are committed to maintaining a rotational brigade in Poland, rotational brigade in Romania, a 5th Corps headquarters forward, which is a smaller element of the larger headquarters, 5th Corps headquarters. That will be in Poland. We also committed to two surface combatants, two warships that will be stationed in Spain as well. So that's a sizable commitment to all the things that we already have in Europe. We started out with about 80,000 troops assigned to Europe or working in Europe at the time, and we're now at about 100,000 or so. You've also heard me commit to maintaining a heel-to-toe rotation of forces in the Baltics to include Latvia. And so we're going to do that, and sometimes we'll use forces from those brigades in Poland or Romania, but it's not dependent on that. We can rotate forces from other parts of Europe, which we have done, continue to do, and we can also bring in forces from the United States. And so, we have the ability to sustain this rotation, and we're committed to doing that. And Minister Pabriks and I discussed this in detail back during our last defense ministerial. And so they feel confident, and we feel confident that we're going to have a great relationship going forward based upon our ability to sustain this. I would also add, Leader, that we'll have a number of exercises in the region. You saw us do that last year, and those exercises can bring in additional forces to operate in the Baltics and also on the eastern flank. Regarding the SFAB brings a tremendous capability to our overall efforts. They have the ability to train forces very efficiently, and they're very, very effective. And so I would look to sustain the SFAB effort in the region going forward.
It seems to me that the United States is fighting a proxy intensive land war by supplying all of this military equipment and training and support to Ukraine. Now, you spent a little time in the U.S. defense industry between ending your military career and becoming Secretary of Defense. Do you think the United States has the capacity to keep this up, to keep supplying Ukraine, to keep supplying its allies, and to possibly face more trouble in the Far East, considering what's going on in Taiwan?
Well, thank you. I would just say that the United States has done a significant amount in terms of providing Ukraine security assistance. But we are one of a number of countries, and you heard me say earlier that there are some 50 countries that are working together to find the means to continue to provide that support. And we are committed to helping Ukraine, providing Ukraine the equipment, the capability that enables them to defend their sovereign territory. You've also heard our leadership say that we'll do this for as long as it takes. And again, as I talk to ministers of defense, not only in NATO but in other parts of the globe, they have the same outlook. They are committed to helping Ukraine, who have fought a valiant fight to date. They're committed to helping them be successful and for as long as it takes, successful in defending their sovereign territory.
Okay. Alex Horton from Washington Post.
Thanks, Mr. First question for you. You share a border with not just Russia, but the southern border with Belarus, and as you know, they have allowed Russian forces to use airspace to launch attacks, and their land borders for Russian forces to go in and out of Ukraine from the north. So, what is your current assessment of your border security picture with Belarus? What is your assessment of Russia's ability to surge forces through there to reach your southern border? What is your sort of, since February, what is your updated assessment of that? And for Mr. Secretary, can you talk a little bit about your threat assessment to the Baltics in general when it comes to Russia's reduced operational capacity from their losses? What is their ability to launch attacks in the Baltics? You spoke a little bit about the evolving fight there. Can you give any specific examples on some perhaps lessons, strategic observations that you've made with Russia that may be relevant to partners like Latvia to help them, be strategic about how to protect their own border?
So, Alex, how many questions exactly was that? Okay.
It's comprehensive. So shall I maybe about Belarus first? We already have been warning our allies for a number of years that Belarus is losing its sovereignty, and looking from our military and security perspective, we don't see Belarus anymore as an independent country. And also, as you mentioned, these examples of launching attacks against Ukraine from Belarusian territory simply shows that Belarus is a part of aggressor country. And from that perspective, it also should be treated like this. Belarus is not independent, and it will be integrated within Russia when Russians will decide the time has come. Secondly, as far as our border security, we simply assume that Russian border and Belarusian border at this moment is more or less the same. While we are speaking, Lukashenko regime in Belarus is launching also these migrant attacks on our Baltic borders, just like it was last year. It's not with such an intensity, but it might grow, so we pay attention all the time. From our intelligence perspective, this border is of very high importance, and we are paying attention very much to this. And of course, we also do share our information with our partners, including the United States. As far as the general perspective, I should reiterate once more. The outcome of Russian invasion of Ukraine must have only one result, which means Russia must lose and Ukraine must win. And I heard some people maybe sometimes telling we shall not allow Ukrainians to lose. No, no, no. It's too less. Ukraine must win, because if Ukraine is not winning this war with our assistance, then earlier or later the stress will come and the war might come at our borders, and we don't want that. So Ukrainians are fighting now our war. Unfortunately, Russians are doing this together with Belarus, and we must use all the means, economic, social, diplomatic, political and military, to stop this aggressor.
So Alex, in terms of the assessment of Russia's capabilities going forward and their ability to threaten Latvia, there's no question that Russia committed a significant portion of its most capable forces to the Ukraine effort. And as a result, they have lost quite a bit of important equipment, tanks and mechanized vehicles. They've also lost an enormous amount of people to killed and wounded. And so they are, from a ground perspective, they are less capable than they were before this started, obviously. But they still have capability in their air forces and their maritime forces. So we don't ever want to lose sight of that. But again, Russia would endeavor over the years to regenerate capability going forward. We expect that they try to do that or want to do that. Again, the sanctions and some of the trade restrictions will make that a bit more difficult than it would otherwise have been. In terms of lessons learned, I think one key lesson learned here for the entire international community is the seriousness with which countries take the international rules-based order and how important that is, because very quickly we saw NATO unify in response to Putin's unprovoked aggression in Ukraine, and that unity has stood strong. And we're going to endeavor to make sure that it remains that way going forward. So this is important not just to the NATO alliance, it's important to the world. As we said so many times, NATO is a defensive alliance. We're focused on protecting the sovereign territory of all of the NATO members. And so as we look at continuing to operate with great countries like Latvia and others in the region, what we want to do is increase interoperability and make sure that we, no question, have the ability to protect their sovereign territory. And so these rotations in and out are beneficial to Latvia, but they're also beneficial to us as well as we streamline processes and procedures and how we would conduct operations in the future. But thanks,
Alex. Ladies and gentlemen, that concludes the